The Conservatives are warning this morning that Labour's ban on new oil and gas licences will create a £4.5 million tax black hole.
It comes after a weekend in which the Tories were predicted to win. Just 72 seats in the election. Defence Secretary Grant Shapps joins us this morning. Well, very good morning to you, Mr Shapps, and good to have you back on the programme so soon after we last saw you. In fact, last week, you were the one warning about a Labour supermajority. And a lot of people in the wake of that thought, have you just given up?
Certainly, morning. Certainly not. I think I made those comments on another programme, and what was not played, though, was on live, is me saying that we are fighting for every single vote. So let me preface this comment by saying we're fighting for every single vote. I'm out on the doorstep doing exactly that. What I was doing, and I absolutely stick to, was warning that the consequences of a very large Labour majority, a supermajority, would be unchecked power, a blank check, to tax your home, to tax your job, to tax your car, to tax your pension, all of which we know, as a result of the Labour manifesto, are things that they intend to do and have already done in other places, for example, in Wales.
Of course, they say, and we've spoken to them this morning, everything's clear in that manifesto and it's all costed. But there was another issue in the polls over the last couple of days, which was that Reform UK overtook you. And Nigel Farage was able to say, we'll be the opposition. That must have been pretty gutting as well.
Well, first of all, I don't accept this point that it's all costed. In fact, on my Twitter account, my X account, I've just posted a video showing how that £2,094 of extra tax that every household watching this programme is going to pay under Labour is calculated. So I don't accept that. Secondly, Labour themselves said yesterday what's in their manifesto is not the extent of their plans, including their spending and therefore tax plans.
But
so watch out for taxes.
If you're going to start talking about tax, we are under a government which has put tax up to record levels. So, you know, people say people in glass houses should not throw stones. The tax burden is at its highest right now under the government of which you are a part.
First of all, everyone understands that we've gone through coronavirus, where we actually saved and supported 9 million jobs and 5 million businesses, and then a war in Europe, where the cost of inflation, that energy war that Putin's for, meant that we were paying half of households' energy bills the winter before last. So people understand that we've had a lot of costs that have been one-offs that any government had to have dealt with.
Whatever the reasons, people still feel the pain of that massive tax burden. Can I talk to you about fundraising?
Hold on, there was an end to that sentence, which I think is important, which is we have already started cutting taxes by £900 for the average worker national insurance. So when we say we'll carry on that trajectory, it is something which people can see we're already doing. Labour, we know, will put up your taxes. And they said yesterday that the extent of their manifesto wasn't their ambition. They're essentially putting up tax and spend.
Labour would say they're getting rid of the non-dom tax break and they're putting VAT on private school fees, and they are not going to increase taxes on working people. Can I ask you about fundraising? Because it seems that you've got a bit of black hole in your own Conservative Party funds. Is it the case that Rishi Sunak has pulled out of this huge fundraiser at the Hurlingham Club in London, and Tory donors asked for refunds for their £1,500 a head tickets?
I'm afraid, I don't have any detail on Prime Minister's diary this week. I can't really help you on that. What I do know is that we have had still very substantial backing for the Conservative Party. And actually, we saw just last week or the week before, I think, Labour put out a letter where they claimed they had this huge support from business. Wasn't a single.
I'm not asking you about the Labour Party. I'm asking you about the Tory Party's funds. It's one of the biggest fundraisers. And one donor said, "You leave D-Day early. You don't go to the summer party. How can you expect other people to turn up for you?"
Well, hold on a minute. First of all, I don't know the Prime Minister's diary. Secondly, the second point is important here, which is who do businesses trust and want to work with in this country? And it is the case that there wasn't a single FTSE 100 company in this batch of bosses who were supposedly supporting Labour. By comparison, we have very broad business support. But the Conservatives know that the source of all the money that we spend on public services comes from the businesses who reduce tax, pay that tax, and therefore help us to pay those for those public services. By contrast, we've got a situation where Labour will tax jobs in this country. Every Labour government has left unemployment higher. So when it comes to the interest not just of workers but of businesses as well, Conservatives have by far and away the better set of policies to support this country.
Can I just get you to, because you said the supermajority point you didn't make in your interview with us last week, can I just get you to clear up a little confusion over what you did say to us last week? This is what you said to us about national service in the Tory manifesto.
It's not as you presented 30,000 people for over an entire year. It's 25 days a year for those 30,000. I think those places will be massively sought after.
I was a bit thrown by that because I thought maybe I'd got it wrong. So I went back and read the Conservative manifesto, which refers to year-long, full-time paid placements in the armed forces. Did I get it wrong or did you?
I'm pleased you mentioned it, actually, because we were just before that exchange having a conversation. I think you were pointing out to me there wouldn't be enough accommodation for people. And in my reply, I was referring specifically to the accommodation element of this, which wouldn't need to be for the entire year. That is the 25 days. But you're right in terms of the actual service being over a year, the accommodation aspect, which is why I was saying we wouldn't have a problem expanding our accommodation to that extent, which I hope clears that up for you.
So you're the Defence Secretary. If you have 30,000 full-time paid people, how much does it cost each year to accommodate them, to train them and to pay them? What's the overall cost of that policy?
Well, the cost of the policy overall is contained within the money that we put forward for this, which is to use money from both the kind of levelling up fund, but also from tax avoidance evasion. So
how much?
We'll put all of that together. It comes into several billions. I haven't got the exact
several
number,
billions,
but it comes to 7 billions. Yeah.
Gosh,
in total for the total program.
So several billions, but you don't know how much.
Sorry, I haven't got the number right in front of me this second. But what
you're not making uncosted, unfunded commitments.
But no, what I was going to say is when we published the policy, sorry, it was a few weeks ago, I haven't got the number in my head right this second.
Okay.
When we published the policy, we published it with the sums attached to it as well. So we showed exactly what it would cost to do. And this is the difference.
And you've costed the right policy, not the wrong policy. Have you costed the right policy or the wrong one?
I carry a lot in my head, but I'm afraid I haven't got the exact number in my head and I don't want to mislead. But we published it with the full numbers. And this is the difference. When we post our manifesto and we say, well, for example, make £17 billion of tax cuts, we've shown exactly where we'll get that money from.
Okay, but you haven't got the exact figure this morning.
No, but I can post it to you moments after coming off this interview because we published it with
and you got it wrong last week.
Pledge.
And you got it wrong last week. Anyway, that's fine. But
no,
Mr. Shapps,
well, hold on a minute. You were asking me specifically in that exchange, and if you play the bit before it, it will demonstrate this, which you didn't there. You were asking me in that exchange, where would people, how would you build the accommodation? That was your question, if I remember correctly. I said it wouldn't need to be the accommodation for the year. It needs to be the accommodation for that period of training.
It takes 14 weeks to train a recruit, and it's only 25. And look, I'm being yelled at because apparently you need to go. Okay. And you know, and I wish you'd stay. However,
I'd like to stay as well.
You have to leave.
I was enjoying it.
All I can say. Thank you much indeed, Mr. Shapps.